Welcome back to We Was Watching. I'm your host, Brandon. We have Charmaine back with us, who's going to be here for Silo. Chanel's going to be here for Silo too, after
Okay,
House of the
good.
Dragon ends. After House of the Dragon ends.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to do
Very
the
much.
episodes up until then, and then she's going to join us for the second half of the season when House of the Dragon ends, because she only has time for one show at a time with her big new job. But if you're,
Okay.
this is a YouTube exclusive for now. I don't think I'm going to put this on the podcast. So if you are watching this on YouTube, go check us out on the podcast. We're doing House of the Dragon. Well, you can watch it on YouTube, but you can also subscribe to us at just search on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Right now, it's called We Was Dragons. And if you're listening to it, watching us on YouTube right now, like, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell to see us go live. You can email us at wewaswatchingpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us any theories you have about Silo, and follow us on all the different social medias. Just search for at We Was Watching. So, Charmaine, I don't know if I told you this completely, but Silo is probably one of my 3 favorite shows on television. Probably top 2
really?
favorite shows on television. I
Okay.
love this
It's
show
good.
so much that when we first got approved for Apple screeners, the first thing I asked for was Silo, and it hadn't even finished filming yet. I was like, please put Silo in my account so that I don't have to be reminded to ask you all for this when it comes out, because I'm not going to be able to stop myself from watching these videos, and I need to watch this show because it's my favorite show.
Yeah.
Turns out I give Charmaine the login because I want her to do these shows with me, and she texts me telling me that she stayed up to 3 a.m. watching all the shows. I ain't even watched the first one yet. I didn't even watch the first episode yet.
Man. It's good. It's good. I had a hard time. I tried to stop. I'll put it like this. On Wednesday, I watched the first 2 episodes before I went to bed, regular time. And I was like, man, I want to push through. But because I had drilled through all the seasons, season 1 for a reminder, season 2 because I missed out, I was like, let me give myself a day break. So I started to give myself a day break, and then Friday rolled around, and I was like, I have been thinking about this since Wednesday night. Even though I tried to give myself a break, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I started rereading the books again, just like I do at House of Dragon, and so I pushed on till 3 o'clock in the morning. I was so fucking tired. I was so tired. I'm tired right now, but it is a solid. I ain't mad at you for saying it's your favorite show. It's. I told you this off camera. I don't say this often about many things. I don't even know for sure if I've said it before. Way better than the books. One of the few things I've ever read and watched. Way better than the books.
So we're going to do this episode by episode. So even I haven't watched ahead. Charmaine has watched ahead, but we're going to pretend she's going to be the professional podcaster.
Yeah, I wrote notes to tell myself what not to drop.
So she's not going to spoil anything. So we can stay on task. I have not watched it. I've only watched 1 episode, and this is episode 1. So I have not watched it. So you guys feel free to let us write any comments in about any theories you have. We aren't going to spoil anything. But we're not going to do this as we usually do the live shows, because those go on for hours, and this is the video. So we're going to just hit the major talking points of the episode, and Charmaine and I are going to go back and forth, and then we'll wrap it up. So what I want to talk to you about, Charmaine, to start with this is the first question I had was, it don't make sense to me that Jules don't remember nothing. But I remember last season, one of the other dudes, was it not Paul, Patrick? No. Yeah, Patrick. Patrick said they got the ability, because remember when Sims put him in that room when they was interrogating him, and it was like, hey, listen, you do this for us, we have the ability to make you forget stuff. We can make you forget stuff, and then you can go back to being the way that you were, because this is clearly fucking you up. And then that was just kind of like a throwaway line. And then we get here, and the first thing we see is Jules don't remember shit. She don't remember nothing. And I'm like, all right, how are they going to explain this? And so what we find out is that the story to Jules is that she don't remember shit because she was in that room for 3 minutes without oxygen, and it fucked her brain up. That's the story that they're telling Jules. What we find out later in the episode is that she don't remember shit because they giving her pills that's suppressing her memory.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you, Charmaine, because what this season is doing that's different than other seasons is we're bouncing between the past and the present, which we had not done in the first two seasons. There is a scene in the past where Charlotte is flying a plane and she flies into some black shit that looks like alien or some type of dark matter, some type of unnatural substance. And then we see her in the hospital bed and she don't remember shit. Do you think these two things are connected?
I do think there are two things that are connected. And while there's elements of this in the book, it's not played out entirely like the show is. And I like what they're doing. The forget me drug is a part of the books, but it's just applied like so much differently.
Okay.
And Jules does not have the memory issue in the books, which is
she never loses her memory.
Oh, see what happens because season 1 and 2. Let me just rewind back a little bit. Season 1 and 2 are from the book Dust, which is the first book in the Silo trilogy, and so it's entirely just Silo 18, Jules' story, essentially. Even though there's a lot of differences, I said this to you off camera, like there's a lot of differences between how everything goes down. They still kind of end in a very similar spot, like story-wise, we're still kind of on point. This is the start of the book Shift, which is the second book, and it does bounce between the past and the present, except that you don't hear about Jules until the end of the book. So what this show is doing, this is a part of why I say this is way better. This show is giving us a Jules storyline so that we don't have our main actress gone for most of the show until we start to get her later.
Also, the book mostly focuses on the past here.
Yeah, so the second book is building the history around why the silos exist, how they were created, and some of these characters that we have are characters from the book, but there's differences. Like Senator Thurman is a gender swap. In the books, it's Paul Thurman, and he is like a godfather to Donald, not Danny. So they also changed a lot of names. They changed a lot of names throughout this whole show because everybody was named fucking Peter or Paul. There's so many Peters and Pauls. Like Jules's dad and Peter Nichols and Peter Billings. So they made Paul Billings. Then you got Senator Paul Thurman, which they turned into a lady. Like there's so many people that have like the same names in the book. It's like he didn't know that there were more than 5 names that existed. But yeah, so there's a lot of changes. I do think that the memory thing is a really clever way to tie the two stories together. But while it is in the books, it's done differently. So I like it's connected, but it's different. So it's cool.
Well, here's the thing. I think that Jules has always been. Oh, before I get into that, let me tell you the time I got the most mad at Chanel in the history of this podcast.
Okay, side quest. Let's go.
At the end of reviewing season 2 of this show, she tells me on the air, I think it was the finale or was it season 1? No, the end of season 1. The end of season 1, the finale of reviewing this show. She goes, "Oh, I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep because this thing was getting on my nerves so much. So I went ahead and read to find out what happened to why we were in the silos." That's what she tells me in the middle of the show. And I'm like, the whole point of this is that we don't know. Like, right. That's the whole point. I got so upset. So, like, you telling me, like, oh, this is a little bit different here or there. I mean, it's fine if you've already read the books going in. Like, I've read Secret Wars. So, if something in Secret Wars happens that is like Secret Wars in the comic books, I'm like, yeah, I read it.
Yeah.
But if I, like, start watching Secret Wars, if I had a DVD of Secret Wars, and I start watching Secret Wars, and then I go, oh, I need to know what's going to happen, I'm gonna stop the movie and then go read the book to see what happens, and then come back to the movie, and then tell me I'd be so upset. So I'm kidding. I wasn't actually that mad at her, but it did. I tease her with that. So my thing is, Jules has always been kind of an impossible white man this entire show. So the fact that she's able to fight through the memory suppression drugs, like they're not completely suppressing her memory. I think this woman got powers. Do people in the books have superpowers? Is that a spoiler? You
it's
can
not
tell
a
me
spoiler.
that.
They don't have superpowers. Okay. I mean, I agree with you that she is sort of written as a little bit of an impossible white man in the books. It's definitely that's kicked up like 10 degrees in the show. But I think part of it might not even be the writing. It might just be Rebecca. I can't think of her last name. Ferguson. That woman is acting her fucking ass off in this show, because this little hard, like, exterior person that she has been is almost entirely dropped in this first episode when she doesn't have her memory. She's vulnerable. She's trying not to be, but she's just doing such a good job. You feel like she doesn't remember, like her facial expressions are so blank and vague in certain moments. Like I think part of it, I think why it feels a little bit magical has more to do with her performance than the writing.
Yeah. Okay. So the other things that came up this episode. So it's Jules's memory. I like Shirley. I don't like how Shirley was acting. Like, I get that she was hurt that her best friend, her sister, didn't remember anything, but like, Jules comes to her and is like, "Hey, dog, listen. They tell me we was close. That we was like thick and thin. Like you was my number one. I don't have nobody to talk to. Can I like ask you this question?" And Shirley was like, "You ain't tell me shit, dog. I'm out." And she was emotional, but I was like, I think she's looking for you to like, if you would have been like, "Yes, you are my girl, you are my sister. Like, I love you. I'm here for you. Anytime you want to talk to me," I think it would have helped in her recovery, right? And at this point, Jules doesn't know these things are happening, but she was just so like taken aback by it that I think I just thought that was like the wrong way to approach that. What'd you think?
Yeah, she's so cold, and I was trying to find a way to like apply it in my own life. Being a widow and dealing with grief and stuff like that. The way my relationships have changed because of my grief, whether the person is uncomfortable with my grief or they're just kind of over it. All that kind of stuff happens. And I was trying to apply it, and what I don't think I've received is almost like mean to my face. I'm mad that, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've had people just drop out on me and, I'm not heard from them again, or they don't reply if I message them and stuff like that. But I haven't had this version. And you feel the grief that Shirley's going through, but at the same time, like, bro, don't be mad that she don't remember you. If you're believing the story that the silo gives you, she was trapped in, and you witnessed it. You saw,
you saw her in there.
She was in a fire thing for 3 minutes. And I mean, technically she had an oxygen tank, which should have exploded, but at least that would have given her for a period of time, maybe a little bit more oxygen than being without oxygen for 3 whole minutes. Not that you can't survive it, but all of this stuff on paper looks like true. So you can't be mad. She's not trying to forget you.
Yeah. Shirley's demeanor was like, "You forgot me. You ain't shit." Yeah. And I'm like,
it's real selfish.
I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, I was so frustrated with her. I was like,
yeah, me too.
She's like, "Why are you calling her madam?" I was like, "Cause she the fucking mayor." Like, even if if my best friend, if Charmaine became president tomorrow, if I was talking to Charmaine on the phone, I'd talk to her like I'm talking to her. If I was in somewhere formal around formal people, I would call her Madam President. I would say I wouldn't be like, "Hey, girl," like I wouldn't talk like we're talking now. It's just a normal. That's just a normal thing that people do in society. That's not even like an American society thing. This is like the history of society.
Yeah.
Like,
the other thing I would do in that scenario too is, as a friend, I would condescendingly refer to you as Mr. President.
Yes.
in private, but in public, I'd be like, "Mr. President," like all
I'm pretty
deference
sure
paid.
if you go back to like ancient Egypt or whatever, they were friends with the pharaohs.
Yeah,
They grew up
yeah,
together. But when they in public, they treated them
exactly.
like that's just how society existed ever since humans existed. And so she was
Yeah,
like, "Why are you doing it?" And I was like, "Because that's how people act. That's
yeah.
that's a
And also,
human
like,
thing."
I don't want to catch heat because I'm forgetting to like be respectful or professional in a situation, right? Like, I don't want someone to look at me and be like, "Why are you being such a dick?" Like,
Also, she don't
respect it.
remember you, so she probably gonna be like, "Why are you so formal with me? Like, why are you so informal? Why are you talking to
Yeah,
me like you know me? I don't know
because
you."
if she had her memory and she was the mayor, and Knox walked up and was like, "Jules, I mean, Madam Mayor," she'd roll her eyes and be like,
Yeah,
"What?" You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, there's time and place, Cheryl. Because calm down. Your friend is hurt. Your friend is experiencing a pain that may not entirely be physical, but can you imagine how difficult it would
Yeah,
be if you're in an environment? How safe could you feel if you understand you've returned home, but you're the only person in your world of 10,000 people who have ever done the thing you've done, and the only people that you're told are shutting you out?
yeah,
You'll never feel safe. You'll never feel comfortable. It won't help you get better. Like they say you got to take your medicine, your pain medicine, so that your body can heal because your brain can't signal you're in pain and heal at the same time. It's the same thing. You can't have your people cut you out and be like, figure out your memory and then come back to me. You need them there.
exactly.
Yeah, I was pissed off about that too. That was because I was like, don't let like one of the few. I mean, luckily this is a very diverse cast and stuff like that. But like, when you have really strong black women characters, you don't want, or even black male characters, you don't want them to always be the angry one, the mad one, the villain. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, she could have been better about it.
One of the things that I love about this show that Chanel and I spent a lot of time talking about in the first two seasons is how much the silo is a microcosm of society. It's just
Mm-mm.
like these things that happen in the silo are like these smaller versions of things that always happen. And so we
Yeah.
often debated about like, do you understand why Bernard acts the way that he does? And I would always be
Hmm.
like, yeah, I don't always agree with Bernard, but I
Sure.
understand why he would act like this and do some of the
Hmm.
things that he was do, particularly given that it is fucked up outside. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, understanding that. So with that being said, what we see this episode is that there has been almost like I don't know if this is the right word, so forgive my black ignorance here. So I mean, but there's almost being like a deification. Is that a real word?
Hmm.
A
Yeah. Yeah. That seems right.
deification
Yeah.
of Jules to the
Yeah. She's
point
like
that
the
she
new
has,
Messiah.
yeah, she has followed. She's got people trading artifacts of hers around like it's currency.
Yeah.
And is that from the books too, or is that a show thing?
If I remember, she's a little bit deified, mostly because it's like again, she's the only person in their world who has ever done this crazy ass thing of going
Yeah.
outside and coming back. So in that respect, I don't think it's as much of fawning, or maybe the writer didn't have as much time to make it like all these little devotees or whatever. But even amongst her friends and the people who love her, there is a little bit of an awe about like if anybody was gonna survive this crazy ass thing, it was gonna be Jules. Like
Hmm.
to a man, they all who knew her all felt like, yeah, it wouldn't have been me. It would only have been her. So to a degree, there it is like that in the book.
Yeah, I'm just worried that they're gonna do some fuck shit. Like, I'm worried it's gonna be like in real life when people like following Michael Jackson around, and then they finally get
Mm,
close to Michael Jackson and they try to like, they do crazy shit to him like they do with celebrities all the time, like
mm.
stalk you, show up at your house, things like that. Like, I'm worried that like these people are getting way too like in awe of her that they're gonna like try to get into her apartment or try to like. I just don't want something crazy to happen to Jules because
I mean,
she's been
it's
through a lot.
10 episodes of a TV show. Some shit's gotta happen, right?
I know. So the other thing I want to talk about in the current timeline before we go back to the past is what the hell is going on with IT. So we got what is her name? Not Claire.
Camille.
Camille. I knew it was a C. We got Camille, basically the head of IT now. We got Sims still mad all the time for no fucking
Still
reason.
mad.
Just walking around mad. Talk about I want to know why you put my fucking kid and wife at gunpoint. She don't remember shit. What are you asking her for?
Bro, time and place. Again, time and place.
You just witnessed everything that happened in the last few months. Obviously, there was some shit going on that she found out about that she had to get some information on. You know that now. So,
and even for his position, even though he doesn't know as much as Camille knows, he was in the room with the algorithm. He may not know everything, but he knows there's a weird ass voice. The Wizard of Oz is behind the curtain in there. Yes. And if you can't think, like, there's some craziness going on, that the idea that after all these months you're still upset about a woman with no memory coming in. I mean, your wife seems to be moving forward from it. I understand it's his little boy and all
Jules was not about to hurt them.
Yeah, she wasn't. She was. It's the desperate act. You know, yeah, maybe they could have accidentally gotten hurt. The gun could have gone
off. In the moment, I understand his anger.
Right.
But it's
have no
problem with that.
Months.
Yeah.
And, so I'm not going to be the kind of person.
From what you saw in this episode, do you think Sims is aware that Jules is getting memory suppressant pills? Because he's pushing the story of what happened with Bernard.
I think he has to because of his role as the head of judicial.
But it seems like why would he ask her about that memory if he knows that her memories are being suppressed?
Because at his core, I think he's a narcissist. Like, he can't help that the world doesn't revolve around him. And even to the degree, like, as fucked up as he was in the previous seasons, when he was with Camille, he always looked like a loving, doting husband and father,
and his son loved him.
And his son loved him and all this kind of stuff. And he had a deepened love and respect for his father too. So I think he's in a position where he really does feel like the world revolves around him. And so when he doesn't get the power he wants, or if things aren't going his way, to me, throughout the first 2 seasons, he just seemed like a person that it's just like, I know I'm the best. I don't understand why y'all don't know I'm the best, and you should all just bend the knee. Like, that seems to be his vibe to me. So this, and mind you, judicial doesn't exist in the books. Everything about Camille and Robert is completely off book. So I don't feel like I'll accidentally spoil anything thinking about connecting to the books. With the forget me drug, the people that are in the power positions, like the mayor and the head of IT, and by extension in the TV show, the head of judicial, I think they all are aware of the forget me drug. Maybe not the mayor. I actually don't remember. I feel like they would all be, and him being technically the head of judicial, I think he had so much experience with it that he should be able to see the signs.
Yes. Because Camille is clear. I always took Camille as like, she wants what's best for the silo. And I think she thinks that this algorithm has that in mind. And my position is, based on last season, the algorithm is what's trying to kill them. That's well, that will kill them if they get out of line. It's what Lucas said when he went downstairs and tried to go through that gate and talk to them. And so I don't think she fully, because at the end of last season, the algorithm says, if you want to, she's like, what do you want? And she says, I want to save the silo at the end of season 2. So I think she's open to listening to this, but I don't see, the only thing I can think of, and you don't have to answer this if you know the answer. The only thing I can think of is, what's my boy's name from the other silo?
Jimmy?
Solo. figured out, Solo's parents figured out that there's like a pipe from the outside that lets in poison. And so the thing that I think Jules is trying to remember is that she's supposed to do something with that pipe. Like they figured out how to turn it off, whatever the fuck. And she's trying to figure out how to turn that off. That's from last season coming to this season. It, to me, and I can understand why the algorithm wouldn't want that stopped, because the algorithm is like, that is our way to control this silo. That threat is always there. It seems to me that Camille should be trying to get, when Jules keeps saying there's something I'm supposed to do, it seems to me that Camille should be like, hey man, even, you know, the algorithm's telling me this, but I want to know what she's supposed to do. Like on the side, like when you're not listening, like I want to know what she's supposed to do, because that could be better for us than what this computer's telling me.
Especially if you're like the boss of this situation. And at that point, once you find out you're head of IT, you realize you are the top person in that silo. If her goal is truly, I want to save the silo, you need all the information you could possibly get to actually protect your silo and these people or whatever. So that would be a reasonable question for her to ask the algorithm. Be like, what don't I know that she's trying to do? Because you can't just give me this little piece of the information and then be mad that I'm not solving the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to work from a place of knowledge. And I don't think in this respect she's given it in this first episode of like, what do I got to do to keep her from thinking? You know, it can't just be more drugs, because if she's drooling in the seat, no one's going to respect the symbolism of her as the mayor, right? So she's got a real fine line she's got to pull in this first episode. Like, I got to keep her a human, and I need all the information I need.
Yes,
I agree. I agree with you on that one.
Anything else you want to talk about in the present before we jump to the past for episode 1?
I'll tell you one feeling I had in watching the first episode right after was just like, it felt like a cliffhanger for me, even though it was the first episode of the season. Like, because it's so different from the books, I was like, I don't see where it's going quite. And I just think that they did such a good job in like making that drama feel like that strong for me on the first episode. Like, it did not lull me into, okay, I think this is what's going to happen. I felt stressed out when that first episode ended.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of caught me. It kind of had like a cold open. It was just like, I thought it was like, did I start this like by accident, like further on or something? This is weird. So it had a bit of a cold open, but I think it was a little disjointing to jump back and forth, just because that's not something that this show has done before.
Right.
So I'm so used to like the structure of this show, and this season is obviously going to be a departure from that structure of the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
If it's anything like this first episode, which I imagine it is throughout the season. So that was a little bit startling, but I always get this, like every time I watch Silo, I get this eerie feel, not eerie, but like the Silo is just such a unique, I don't know. I get lost in this world because it's just such a unique like idea for like an existence. I mean, it's very similar to Severance in a lot of ways. Oh, you haven't watched Severance?
I haven't. I keep telling myself to do it, and then I just forget it exists until the end of Silo, and it tells me Severance exists.
Oh man, Severance is in that top 3. It's an all-time great show. Okay. But it's like just
man,
this
Apple's
world
doing it for you.
Apple's the best streaming service in my opinion. It is. It doesn't get a lot of. You know what's funny? Though Apple has gotten so rich and so popular mainly because of how great they were at marketing. They were able to, they made a great product. The iPhone was a great innovation in product, but they then marketed it better than anyone else marketed phones. No one else could market phones in the way that Apple could market phones, which made the iPhone so incredibly popular. It's the same thing it did with the iPod when there was millions of MP3 players.
Sure.
They were unbelievable at marketing, except they are horrible at marketing their TV shows.
I agree.
That are awesome. Because TV shows.
Every Apple show that I now have like a little addiction for, I just lived without awareness of it. Yes. I was basically at the end of season 2 when I found out about Ted Lasso. And the crazy thing was Sean Bay was telling me about Ted Lasso the whole time, but I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's a soccer TV show, you know. And once I finally started to watch it, I just couldn't stop watching it.
All of their shows are so great. If you watch Foundation, I promise you'll be up watching Foundation. You'll be like, oh my God. The first season is good, but it's kind of up and down. But but the world will get you hooked. So you'll still get hooked even though the quality is up and down. And then season 2 and season 3 were incredible of Foundation.
Even with Silo, though, because I remember this, Silo aired, the first season was like a month after Tristan died. So I remember I was in Mexico still. I was living alone, obviously. And I was trying to figure out what to do. And I had been watching Ted Lasso on a loop. And then the Silo trailer, I don't know why I'm remembering this so vividly. It's so weird. The Silo trailer popped up at the end. And I was like, man, that kind of sounds like that book that I read. You know, it was just like, it wasn't, because it's not called Silo, like the book is not called Silo, it's called Dust. And so when I was like, man, this is something similar about it. So I remember like watching an episode of it and being like, oh, I think this is that book series. And then I remember like going back to the book series before I even started watching the show. And I moved back to the States and all that kind of stuff. So I actually didn't pick up season 1 again until I was well back in the US. It just like timing wise, it was a terrible time for me to watch it. But it had none of that stuff happen. I would have been on this thing like crazy. It would have been hard for me to sit through every week waiting for it. More than House of Dragon. And I think that's why I burnt through the season. And you know, it's unfair too, because for the sake of doing the show with you, I'm like, all right, like I literally had to sit down and write notes, say, don't say this, don't say this, don't say this, so that I can keep my, like, that's the kind of notes I was taking today. I was like, okay, this doesn't happen yet. You know, this is all this stuff that you think, blah, 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 blah. And having watched it, I still think I have different theories that I'm not quite sure everything. So
I am anti-binge. Did you know that about me?
I did not know that about you.
I will binge something if I have to, right? Like if I have to. Like if I
that makes your text messages make more sense now.
But I believe television storytelling was designed to be week to week. Like that's how it was always built.
It always was, yeah.
And so I think the week to week makes shows more iconic because the time in between episodes, when it's good, people spend time. Back when we all used to go into work talking to each other at lunch break or whatever about the show. Now with social media, talking about the show or articles come out about the previous episode of reviews, or now podcasts like what we do. People listen to podcasts and learn. And you can do that on Tuesday. House of Dragon comes out on Sunday. You listen to a podcast on Tuesday. You read an article. You talking to you see people making memes and stuff. And then you get anticipation, and you see the preview on Wednesday or Thursday for the next episode, and you get excited about it. And you come back on Sunday, and you can't wait to see what happens. And it kind of builds and builds and builds to when, like, people don't remember this, but like people used to live tweet shows. Like I remember people live tweeting Scandal and Game of Thrones and all types of shows like that. And it was just what's going to happen next week, and everyone's communal together. And I think that doesn't exist with binge shows because you're all watching at a different pace, at a different time, and it's all at once, and you have no time to register what happened.
With you. I 100% agree with you. I realize that there are certain shows that, okay, to explain me, pre the way TV is now, is in high school and early adulthood, I was like a crazy reader. I mean, I read like a book or two a week. I was every Saturday I was at Tower Books, and I got something that was that week's next book and stuff like that. I was a crazy hardcore reader, which is now I don't really have that ability. I have to kind of like I have to buy the book and the audiobook and read them together. That's how I read now because
Oh,
I don't
really? Okay.
yeah, I don't have the attention span anymore to be able to just sit and read. It's really irritating actually, but I was the kind of person that I would read the first chapter. You're going to hate this. I would read the first chapter of the book to get the lay of the land, the character names, all that kind of stuff. And then I read the last chapter of the book because I wouldn't be able to. I know it's terrible. I hate spoilers on TV and movies, but when it comes to books, I cannot live with how long the possibility is going to take for me to finish this book. Even though I used to finish a book every week, I could not live with the idea of like, what if I don't know how this thing ends if I get in a car accident or something like that, because that's the way my brain thinks. So I would read the end. I'd be like, okay, I know if this is what we call a Charmaine ending or an everybody else ending, because I like when things end on a bad note. I think it's more. I'm a gloomy girl. So I would go back then, restart chapter 1, and read through the end. That's how I used to read books. I don't do that anymore.
That is crazy. I've never heard anyone say that before. Wow.
It was an obsession. And I've never met anybody else that has done this. The closest I've come to it is in Harry Met Sally. Billy Crystal's character says, I read the first, I skip to the last chapter of the book first so that I know how it ends before I die. It was the closest I've ever seen of someone else do the same thing that I do, or used to do. So I think that's why the binging ends up happening. Like if I get even remotely access to something early, like the way Netflix
I understand binging. I'm okay with, I think watching old shows is different because
it makes more sense with old shows.
Yeah, because it's not current. So it's not, so I get it. I guess that's why I don't watch a lot of Netflix stuff, because it's almost always released all together. The only thing I watch on Netflix is like documentaries, which I think is designed to be watched like that. And not the TV shows. But no, before we go to the past, so Apple, Charmaine, I don't know if you watched Widow's Bay. I've been texting you about it. It's
Have
so
you been
great.
texting me about it?
Yes, I was texting you and Mark.
I only just heard about it yesterday.
Widow's Bay is so great. It's just ended. It's like, I think I texted you about it. Did you remember me saying there's a show that's like a cross between like The Conjuring and The Office? What if you take The Conjuring and The Office and they had a baby? Like
I don't remember that
the horror
at all.
of The Conjuring and the comedy of The Office are like Parks and Recs, and then made a show like that.
I don't think that's me. I don't think you were texting me about it.
I thought I texted you and Mark because Mark started watching it. And then he fell in love with it.
Oh, maybe I just kind of blew past it then or something, because that doesn't say, like, I remember seeing something while binging, the Widow's Bay thing popped up, and I was like,
Widow's Bay episodes are only 30 minutes, so you would breeze through that, but it was unbelievable. It was a comedy of the technically it's a comedy. It was a comedy of the year, in my opinion.
It's a horror comedy?
But it's a horror, and the horror parts are actually scary.
Okay.
But it's a silly comedy. When it's silly, it's silly. When it's scary, it's scary.
Okay.
Pluribus was great. Murderbot, I don't know if you watched Murderbot. We reviewed Murderbot, Chanel and I. Murderbot has one of the Skarsgård brothers, and he's basically playing like a robot that's like a humanoid robot that had like this thing removed so that he can kind of think on his own. And then it's basically like a thing on like what is humanity, but it's a comedy. So it's funny as shit. And so he calls himself Murderbot because he just wants to murder people sometimes.
Which Skarsgård? Is it the creepy one or the one that everybody thinks is pretty?
No, not the creepy one. The one that everyone thinks is pretty. Alexander.
Alexander. Okay, I got you.
Then there's Severance. For All Mankind is just, I don't know if you like alternate history, but it's basically alternate history at its peak alternate history. It changes is, what if the Russians made it to the moon first? That's where everything diverges. And they do this amazing, you can watch them on YouTube, even if you don't watch the show. Each season is 10 years later. So like the first season is right when the moon landing, the next season's in the 70s, the next season's in the 80s, the next season's in the 90s, and this past season was in the 2000s. Or whatever. Got me. So right before each season, the first 5 minutes of the first episode of each season is like a montage of everything that changed, that was different or the same in the world, in the show. And they do cuts and show news clippings, and it's just like this. You can watch the montages separately on YouTube, and it's some things are the same, and then some things are like slightly different. Like the Montreal Expos left Montreal, but instead of going to DC, they went to Portland. So it's like something small like that. And then sometimes it's something completely different, like somebody completely different won the election, or like this thing happened or that thing happened. And the whole premise is that because Russia got there first, no one got complacent on science in the space race. So the space race just kept going. So technology developed a lot faster. So it's not like the Jetsons, but it's kind of like they had electric cars in the late 80s. They had cell phones in the 80s, in the early 80s, instead of in the late 90s, things like that. So it's like it's just little things like that, a little bit different. And then it's the conflict of just people. Like people then go to the moon, and then people are people on the moon. That's why it's called For All Mankind. So it's not like you got aliens running around or anything like that. It's just like an alternate history of what if we kept developing at the rate that we did when we wanted to go to the moon. Because if you think about it, we went from the 50s technology to like, all right, we want to go to the moon. And then we got to the moon 10 years later, which is like, which is an indictment of America, which is like, hey, if you guys can do that, we could do so much. If you just,
there's so much you can do. Right,
there's so much
100%.
we could do. If like when you actually put your mind into something scientific that cost a ton of money, it costs a ton of money to do it. They were just like, fuck it. It's going to be worth it. And to be clear, it was actually worth it for people because we got so much technology out of that everyday people use, right? And so it's like, you could do that. You could do anything. Then there's Dark Matter, which is from another book. I don't know if you read that book, for Blake Crouch's book.
I have not read it, but I was aware of it becoming a show.
My guy, Joel Edgerton, is in that, and it's a great show. Monarch, I enjoy. You might not enjoy Monarch. I don't know if you're into Godzilla.
Excuse me.
Oh yeah, you are into Godzilla. So this show takes place. I forgot about that. Gojira. I gotta say that when I'm talking to you. This show takes place in between.
I got 3 Gojiras right here.
I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. This takes place in between the movies. So it's like what's happened in between these movies, and then it goes back into the past, into how Monarch became a thing. And it has
again, to your point about Apple not marketing well, I didn't fucking know they made a Monarch show, and had I known, I would have been done watch that thing.
Season 3 just went off like a month ago.
And Season 3?
Yes. And it's got Kurt Russell.
What?
And then Kurt Russell, and then Wyatt Russell plays Kurt Russell in the past. It's got a ton of Japanese people.
That's great.
It's got a ton of, it takes place, half of it takes place in Japan. So a lot of our girl from Anna Sawai from
she's in it too.
She's in it. From Shogun, she's in it. And then Kiersey Clemens, who played Iris West on the Flash movie, she's in it.
Yeah, she's one of the early spokespeople for mixed chicks hair products made by mixed people.
Oh, really? Yeah. So there's a lot of people you like in it. You would love it. And
God
then,
damn. How are they on season 3 and I never heard about it?
It's one of my favorite shows. And then there's Foundation, which is just Game of Thrones. Imagine Game of Thrones in space in the future. That takes place across multiple planets, and this, and they did this thing where it's like they have this thing called the Cleonic Dynasty. I know people watching this are going to skip past it. It's okay. I'll put timestamps. You can skip past this to get to the end. Foundation did this thing where they changed something from the books, and they have like this galactic empire, right? But instead of the galactic empire having like a sun, and then the sun passes on to their son, like Game of Thrones, they have a Cleonic, it's this guy named Cleon. They had all these rulers, then this guy named Cleon became ruler, and then he decided, I'm gonna be the last ruler ever. So it's a clone dynasty. So they have Brother Day, Brother Dawn, and Brother Dusk. And so Brother Day is like Brother Dawn is like from 0 to 30. It's 30 years. when they decant a clone every 30 years. So Brother Dawn is 0 to 30, Brother Day is 30 to 60, and Brother Dawn is 60 to 90. And then when you turn 90,
the clone of the last leader,
of the last leader, and they keep that cycle going for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, just redoing that. And so when you turn 90, Brother Dusk walks into this abyss and dies, and they decant a new Brother Day, a new Brother Dawn, and the Brother Day turns into Dusk, Brother Dawn turns into Day, and they get a new Dawn, and it just circles up. And so that's a big part of the thing. It's just such a cool premise. There's these people fighting all over the place. It's probably the brownest show, one of the brownest shows you'll ever see in sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
Just all types of brown, all over.
Me at brown.
It's fantastic. So these are all just sci-fi stuff on Apple. This is just all Apple, everything I just named. It's so great. I watch all of these shows. I cannot get enough of Apple sci-fi. They are better at sci-fi than anyone else. They're just the best.
When you're talking about some of them, the reason why I was getting hooked is because I'm one of those people that really get into the butterfly effect type stories. Like if you change one thing in the past, this is the fallout. And recently, even though it's been out for ages, I didn't watch it because of James Franco issues, but I ended up finally watching it. It's the 11/22/63. 63, 65. It's where James Franco goes back in time to try to prevent the assassination of JFK.
Okay, yeah. Then you would love For All Mankind. You would love that show.
It sounds like exactly.
They just did a spinoff, which I need to catch up on, called Star City, which goes back to the beginning, but from the USSR's perspective, the Soviet Union's perspective. So that's the first season of the spinoff.
That's been out for ages that I also have not watched. It's also based on a book, but it's also a what if thing. It's The Man from Highclere Castle. It's what if the Nazis won. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched that one either, but it's on my list. But yeah, you got me. I will watch For All Mankind. That sounds right up my alley.
It's very emotional though. I've cried multiple times watching that show. I'm not afraid.
This is what I love about you.
Very emotional. It'll get you. I had tears in my eye almost watching the soccer match the other night. I get emotional sometimes.
Literally, the amount of times I've cried during fucking soccer lately is stupid. And I'm, aside from grief making me more of a public crier than I've ever been, I've always been like a hide my cry type of person, and I can't do that anymore. But now I'm crying at shit that I'm just like, I'm in the middle of the cry going, why the fuck am I so emotional about like 22 guys kicking a fucking ball right now? And it feels like life or death somehow also, like the way that the last Japan match got me, I cried when they got their goal.
Where your allegiance lies between England and Mexico.
Okay,
we're gonna find out.
I understand that technically I'm a half a Brit. I get it. Mexico housed me during one of the most difficult times of my life, and I had such a good experience in Mexico, besides the fact that my husband died there, that the biggest conflict between Mexico v somebody is if it's Mexico v Japan, it's Japan. Yes. If it's Mexico v almost everybody else that I can think of right now, is Mexico.
Okay.
I'll put it like that.
You're with us then. You're with us. I'll allow it. Okay, before we get out of here. The only time
I go Brit side is if it's Brit versus America.
Oh, well, that's fair.
But Brit is equally as bad.
Although, listen, I ain't going to let you do that this time, because America tried to win this time.
I heard.
Because they brought us along. They said, hey, we want to compete in soccer.
So we finally started hiring black guys?
Obviously, we need to be a little bit more melanated. But instead of just being a little bit more melanated, the whole team is melanated except Christian Pulisic and the goalie.
I'm glad about that, because I want black people to have paychecks. I'm mad that they sat there and let a global industry sport fall to pieces in this country because they were trying to keep it pale.
Well, also a lot of people think it's boring, which I don't understand. I was talking to my dad, and he's like, "I tried to watch the World Cup. It's boring." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Is
How?
boring?
The
How are you
stories.
saying this is boring? Like, what do you
The
want? Like, what are you?"
stories.
I'm like freaking
Yeah.
out at my dad. I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is so incredible. Like, how are you saying this is boring?"
Yeah.
A lot of people, because people watch American football, and I'm like, I get it. I played football. I played Division 1
Sure.
football. I'm an athlete. I get it. But like, football's way more boring at times than soccer because you
Yeah.
play for 7 seconds and then you walk around for 40 seconds and then you play
Right.
for 7 seconds. Like, I get it. The physical, I understand. I get this some way too as a former football player.
Sure.
I watch these soccer players get tapped on their leg and then do a complete James Bond tumble for 5 yards and then roll around the ground while peeking up like
Is
are y'all
anybody
gonna
looking?
call it? And then when they don't call it, they get back up. And I go, okay.
And do a fucking bicycle kick into some shit
I
right
go,
after.
I played football. I can't support this. Like, I've taken helmet to helmet shots. Like, I'm getting destroyed on that field, and you guys are getting tapped and just rolling in circles. So I get the pushback on that.
Sure.
But besides that, it is so incredibly athletic. The back
It
and
is.
forth, the energy of the crowd, the culture, even the white countries. You watch the crowd, and they're all proud, and they're doing their culture,
Yeah.
they're doing their chants and everything. It's so incredible. So
As
I
a
don't know
half
about
a
that.
Brit, I was never really into soccer or football. Like, we call it football at home. I was never that into it because it just seemed like something that took a long time. But now that I'm more engaged in it, and I think I've told you this before. I was never a person that liked to watch sports that often, except for boxing. I was always a big boxing fan, but um, I love sports documentaries, and I just fucking love. I will gobble up any sports documentary, and it was watching football sports documentaries that got me starting to watch football. And then when you see what the stories are of these teams, you get way more engaged. So now I understand like fandom for a sports team that I don't understand from the American perspective. Like, I mean, I did grow up in the LA in the early 90s when it was still or late 80s, early 90s when it was still the LA Raiders. And so in my head, the LA Raiders are the first and last team that I ever paid attention to in football. But now that they're not there anymore, I guess I don't really give a shit. But like my play nephew is on the Dolphins. So now in that respect, I care about the Dolphins because I know someone on the team. But other than that, like if you line up side by side an American football match versus an international football match, American football matches very rarely have the stories that make you
Yes.
engage in the background of the thing. And so even a draw, a 0-0 draw, has a story to it. It's never like a boring draw. It's somehow this 6'7" guy managed to block every shot that came through on both sides. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's
Also,
definitely more.
Americans don't like ties. We don't really do ties.
Yeah, we don't
Like
understand the
that's
concept of ties. Yeah.
yeah. We don't like. It's like we got to have a winner. So like the
Yeah.
idea that it's like a tie all the time. It's like the idea to Americans that like
Yeah.
they get a tie and you see the people in the crowd going crazy. It just
Yeah.
doesn't register. And I understand that. I'm not judging Americans on that. I get that because none
Sure.
of our sports have ties. Like you don't play basketball and it's just like okay,
We tried
105,
our best,
105,
guys.
we're done. It's
Everybody's
over. It's like,
defense is
no, you gonna
strong.
go until you figure this out. Like until this
Yeah.
thing ends and one person has one more point than the other one, we gonna keep going. Like that's how that's
Yeah.
gonna work. So I get
That's
it.
why I was so distressed about the Japan last match is once it got into shootout because that's not a typical thing except for big competition in football. I was like, fuck. I don't know how. From what I understood, Japan didn't have the best record in shootout scenarios or whatever. So I was like, oh fuck, it's not gonna go our way.
All right, before we wrap this up, because that was a great conversation, we'll just quickly jump in with the past that we saw this
Oh, we didn't
episode.
go to the past. I'm so sorry. Yeah, let's
No,
get to
no,
it.
you're not sorry. It's all right. This is what we do. So we found out that Iran had a dirty bomb in DC, went off, which has caused hysteria a bit there, which I think has led to some people. I'm assuming here, but which has have led to people being like, okay, how do we protect society in case we have some type of destruction. And
Especially
so,
because America isn't used to homeland
yeah.
tragedies, with the exception of Pearl Harbor and 9/11.
Whereas, like on Fallout, those people who went in the shelters were the rich people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll find that out here because I'm assuming we're going to find out the true backstory. But I don't know. It seemed like they took. It seemed like they took all classes of people and put them in there because it seemed like the people who live at the bottom of the silo are like the blue collar workers, and I feel like they weren't about to take some dignitaries and be like, all right, when you guys get in the silo, you actually gonna be down there working on the
Like
engineers
you got
and
assigned to
plumbing and
mechanical.
shit. So like I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
that's what happened. So I feel like they did the thing that probably should happen in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to build these things, is like you take people from all groups of life, all races,
Yeah.
all genders, all nationalities, different cultures and language, different scientific backgrounds or trades, to put them in
Mm-hmm.
this place so that you can mimic society in
Yeah.
there.
I don't believe it's a spoiler to say this because I think it's sort of outlined in the first season, and it's certainly available in the early stages of the books that like you prioritize a skill set.
Yeah.
Which is what I think this is so appealing in comparison to other post-apocalyptical fucking stories, is that yeah, it is always the billionaires build a colony in space, the billionaires do this, the billionaires do that, and then over time, depending on how long we survive, you end up having a hierarchy of class or whatever. But this one I think is appealing because it's like, if you're trying to preserve humanity, or if that's not even the goal, if it's just like, we just can't help but try to live, it would make sense you throw anybody that has a certain skill set in certain positions. And then because because you're not going to college for shit, you have to do like the apprenticeship things. You do have you do have the ability to create dynasties of some sort, in that respect, even if it's a mechanical dynasty, or you know what I'm saying? Like it can be like, oh, I respect you as the head of mechanical because your dad was the head of a mechanical, or something like that. Like that is a possibility in this world. And I think that's kind of interesting. That's why Jules's story is such a big deal when she goes from the mids to the low, and then now to the top. So of anybody in this world, she has now experienced every level of society within that little capsule of society. Yeah. And that's why I think it's an interesting, type of show or perspective.
We meet some new characters: Daniel, Charlotte, the Congresswoman. What's her name? Thurman.
Yeah.
Thurman. So I imagine we're going to follow those characters throughout the season. So we got to meet some new characters. Daniel's sister, Charlotte, is a fighter, Air Force pilot. Daniel is a congressman. And so obviously the U.S. wants to retaliate back to Iran. He's concerned about his sister being a part of that. His sister does get the call to go fight and do something in retaliation, and they come across this big dark black cloud in the air that's kind of like dark matter, looked like to me, and it caused some planes to go crashing down. She gets hurt pretty bad and loses her memory. That is the gist of what I took from the past, but I want to know what. You don't have to tell me this, 'cause I'm sure we'll find out. I want to know what that dark cloud was, why it's there, and I know that one of these characters we're going to see is going to end up in the silo, because at the end of last season we saw that Pez dispenser that George had with one of the characters. So they're going to get into a silo at some point. I don't know why exactly. I don't know when exactly. So they got me hooked to find out that. But I'm interested to see if I care about these characters the way I care about the characters in the silo. Because I love Billings, and I cared about, even if I don't like the character or hate the character, I cared about Billings and Bernard and Shirley and Jorah Mormont and and Jules and all the people, and the people down there. I cared about them. because I got connected to the characters. The show needs to make me care about these characters in the past.
I think you do make a good point. Like, regardless of good guy, bad guy, or gray guy type of thing, they have built these characters so well, and you understand that even if they do dirt, it's almost necessary dirt for it's the whole greater kill one to save 1,000 type scenario, and sometimes you have to kind of have a bad guy be in charge of that because it's harder for a good guy to be in charge of that, right? So I agree with you. Like, even if you wouldn't make the same decisions, or you're too aligned morally with a good or a bad, something like that, like, you can see the point of everybody in the show that they created, these characters that they created. I won't say it because of the way the TV show has gone, but they do reveal what the Cloud is in early in the book, like before the end of the first book.
Oh, okay.
So they've just kind of hidden that. Well, actually, to be fair, they actually haven't hidden it. They've mentioned it multiple times, but it's so throwaway in the first 2 seasons that I know I picked up on it because I've read the books. But because you've said you don't know, it makes me realize they have been so subtle that by the time you find out, you'll be like, wait a second. And you might go back to watch and be like, oh yeah, they did that, So I'm not going to say it because I want you to experience the show the way you want to experience it. But what I want to say about the past development so far in episode 1 is they have already fleshed out some of these characters so much better than I think. This is part of my it's better than the book situation, because Helen is a fucking wallflower in the book, and to the degree that I'm so infuriated by her that when she popped up, I was like, oh no, I like that actress, because I was thinking she was about to be this wallflower, but they've developed her so much better, and I'm already in first end of last season little snippet plus first little bits that we get of her in this episode. I'm already in with her. Charlotte is different too, in that she was a military person. She was like a star drone pilot, because in this part of the time period that this is happening in is 2050s. So that's why it's not so modern, but it's modern enough, different from us. So in the 2050s, war is mostly done like drone attacks and stuff like that. So you're not having as much loss of life or whatever. And she's like an amazing star pilot situation in that respect. Danny, who is named Donald in the books, he is an architect who has become a congressperson because he doesn't like how blocked he gets from certain infrastructure things. So like, and because of the pressure of Thurman, who is like his godfather, he's like, I'm gonna make sure that you're a congressperson. So he just like delivers him the thing, and then now he's just rolling in the story of just like, well, I do what Thurman wants me to do, kind of a thing. So they've already made him a better character too, because he's got more initiative in the first. Like, he seems in the first episode, he seems so confused, but he's still trying to figure out stuff. Like, so they've already made everybody better. Anna in the books I cannot stand, but in the show, in the first episode, I'm already glad how they changed her. She's the daughter of Thurman. In the books, she's the oversexed, overly flirty ex of Donald.
Okay.
And she and Helen and Donald are already married in the books or whatever. So the flirtation that so you have like Anna making Helen retract even more into insecurity because of her mere existence. And it's stupid the way they do it. It's one of those things where a man wrote it because he doesn't understand women. So that's why I'm so glad that they've done some of the things that they've done, because the writers of this show, one, have made women a lot more dynamic and more present. Like, they're more a part of the story than just going along with the story. So in that respect, I already love so much of what they've done. But one point of the TV show about the past that I think is interesting, and what I think is really jarring when you're watching the flip back, is they do different type of camera styles and camera angles. Like, they do stuff in the past that they don't do in the
I noticed that.
Like when Charlotte's going through the turnstile, the camera's sitting on the turnstile, so getting
Yes.
nauseous as like that kind of stuff, or they're hitting you from these little angles in the past that they just don't do in the future. So it's almost like they're giving you more room and more expanse in the
Mm-hmm.
past, because once we get into the silo, you ain't got no room. And I think that, like, visually, and maybe that's my little film school moment, like visually they make you feel the
You're in
vast
the
difference
world.
between. Yeah. I think
Yes.
that was intentional, and I think they did a really good job.
All right. We will be back for episode 2 next week. Um, like our videos again. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to our channel so you can hear us talk about Silo episode 2 as well as House of the Dragon live this Sunday night after the show. So tune back into us for that. And if you like us enough, subscribe to our podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and leave us a review there because those help us out a lot as well. Until then, we'll be back next week. Peace.
Bye.